I hadn't had enough of him. My eyes are yet to be quenched by looking at him. The days were passing quickly. I tried to hold on to them, but they slipped through my fingers like grains of sand. Those were tough days, subject to a systematic torture perpetrated by the American military, CIA, FBI, and psychologists. Starvation, deprivation of sleep and medication, alternating between intense heat and severe cold, using sexual lure, beatings, being tied in the fetal position for up to 36 hours. I never imagined the day would come when I could reveal to the world the secrets of Guantanamo. The final days in Guantanamo were among the hardest days of my life, but thanks be to God, praise be to Him, He tested me. It's not by my strength, truly, that I passed. It's by His mercy and grace. But what I really worried about was, will I be able to see my parents again? This feeling was very painful, so I relied on God through supplication. So my eyes are adorned with the sight of my father and mother. And through His graces, He answered my prayers, and I saw my father. And after a very short time, I was still in rehabilitation for 6 months. I hadn't left rehabilitation when my father felt ill, and he went to London to run some tests. And they said he had cancer. So he stayed in London. I left rehabilitation and got home. But my father wasn't there. My mother wasn't there either. She was with him in London, and they stayed there for months. And I asked God incessantly to reunite us again.
في رضاك كل آلام السجون كل ما فيها يهون كل آلام السجون.
In his final days, I felt that I was in a battle with time. I was afraid that my father may die, especially that I had seen a vision and knew from it that his death was getting closer. My brothers and I were racing the clock to take care of this kind father, whose efforts we could not repay, till he asked me his final request, which was the reason I'm recording this documentary. He told me, Fayez, you didn't tell me everything that happened. When I get better, I want you to tell me everything. I said, certainly. If you get better, I will tell you the entire story, beginning to end. But God chose him, and he didn't get better. I asked God to have mercy on his soul.
قد أتاك بالعيون الدامعات في الليالي الساجيات قد أتاك.
But I'm going to fulfill my promise, and I will narrate everything from beginning to end. My name is Fayez Mohammed Ahmed Al-Kandary. I was held captive in Guantanamo since I was 28 years old, and I stayed there for 14 years. Now I'm 42 years old. These clothes themselves were a charge. The American media was able to convince people that these clothes convicted the person. But today, I will take about the human who's wearing these clothes and the reality of this person and the conditions he endured during the 14 years, the torture, the insulting, and the degrading. While we were washing my father before the burial ceremony, the events of my story with him and the pain he endured with me flashed in front of my eyes like a movie.
Fayez is the eldest of his father's sons, and the eldest always has a special place. I always felt that from Fayez's father.
In our family, Fayez's father, God rest his soul, and his mother, I think they were crying for 14 years without a sound. We didn't hear them, but we were able to see their grief and sorrow.
He would follow all the details, always asking me, what did Fayez say and what did you tell him?
And when we put him in the grave, and I threw the sand in order to bury him, I remembered his words. When he would protest and carry a sign written on it, "I want my son to bury me. I don't want to bury my son."
During every protest, I saw his father's eyes, as if he was solely responsible to get his son out.
يبقى انت الحين ايش بتسوي بالضبط يعني؟ ايش قاعد تسوي بالضبط؟ قاعد تغش.
Not only the state security, but the whole team who was responsible for this case did their best to hurry the procedures, to have more meetings with the American side, sit with them, and give them assurance.
The Kuwaiti delegation in the last days, as God is my witness, and Prophet Muhammad said, "He who doesn't thank people doesn't thank God." And all my brothers suffering with me in captivity attest to this too, especially in the last 2 years. And every time they asked my parents if they wanted to send me anything. May God grant them good, my family and the delegation, and my father, may God rest his soul. He was keen on sending all that I asked for the Kuwaiti delegation, everything. So the Kuwaiti delegation would come with a huge bag, and this was an unusual thing in Guantanamo. This was a difficult thing to do. They didn't always agree to it. I would take it, and my family sent it to all the brothers with me in Guantanamo. And I would become very happy hearing the prayers from my brothers to my family.
Even though the weather was extremely hot, he felt that there was something he needed to achieve: his son's release.
Fayez's father was very dear to me. God rest his soul. Thank God he was able to see Fayez before he died. This was an important point for me personally, because I got to know this man, as I called him, the kindest man. He was a great gentleman.
God granted him his wishes and granted me mine. I got to see this kind father, who did not show me anything other than love and mercy his entire life. I'm no longer 552 living in Guantanamo. Today I am Fayez Muhammad Al-Kandari. And I'm going to illustrate for you the reality of the 14 years I spent in Guantanamo.
قد أتاك بالعيون الدامعات في الليالي الساجيات قد أتاك روعة الجمال هيبة الجلال أن يراك من دعاك جاءت البشرى إليه بالعطايا في يديه البشرى إليه بالعطايا في يديه. من دعاك نظرة النعيم منحة الكريم. أن يراك